Here we have 4 lists in Cognos report. Each of these lists is made by the separate query, and we can see those queries here. Those queries are really small, so they return just a few rows, and inside of this page we can see all of the data that is inside of those queries. And we will now see how we can combine these queries by using intersect and accept. I will first jump here to queries, and I will add this icon intersect. Here we have 2 empty slots. I will first add up query here at the top and down query here at the bottom. This is a symbol for intersect operator, and if we go here to properties, we can see that here we can change intersect to union. Now we have a union icon, or we can change it to accept. Now we have accept icon. I will change this back to intersect, and just like for union, we can preserve duplicates or we can remove them. I will just leave as remove, and then I will rename this final query. I will rename it as intersect. Now, what is intersect? For that, I will jump here to this Excel file, and here we have our 2 tables. We have up table and down table, and these 2 tables have one common row. So row B2 exists both in the first table and in the second table, so intersect will return all of the rows that are common for these 2 tables, and that will be row B2. I will go back now to Cognos to see how we can get the same result here. First, I will enter this intersect query, and here we don't have any columns, so we have to go to source and to add these 2 columns. And we only have names of columns from that first table, so we have these names of columns because this table is the first table. It is the table at the top, and this table is at the bottom, so we cannot use these names but only these names. Let's go back, and now we can run this query. So I will click here, and we will see that we will only get that one common row, so we will get only row B2. Let's go back, let's go to queries, and now we will see how to use accept. I will add accept here. Again, we have 2 empty slots. I will add up query here and down query in here. I will rename this final query as accept, and I will jump to this Excel file. Here we can see what is accept. In this first table, we have row A1 that doesn't exist in this second table, and that row will be our result. So we are looking for the rows that do exist in this first table but do not exist in this second table, and in this case it is important which table is first and which is second, because we are looking only for the rows from this first table. Let's now go back. Again, I will enter this accept query, and I will add those 2 columns. Again, we only have up columns. I will again run this query to see whether we are going to get that row A1, and that is the case, so we got our result. Let us now go back to queries. It is possible to further combine these intersect and accept queries. For example, we can add a union, and then we can combine this intersect query and this accept query to get a union, and this union will have both of those rows, so it will have rows B2 and it will have row A1. I will now run this union to see whether that is true, so we will get B2 and A1. I will go back, I will go to queries again, and we will see one more way how we can combine queries. I will add this query here, so this is a new query, so I need some data for this query. And I can get that data, for example, from this left query. I will add left query here, and now this query will get the data from this query. And I can repeat this process. I will add another new query, and I will fill this query with the data from left query. If we jump here to this Excel file, if we go to tables, we can see that inside of this left query we have 4 rows, so we have 2 A rows and 2 B rows. I will go back, I will rename this query as A rows, and this other query will be B rows. And inside of this A rows query, I will add my columns. But I will also create one filter. So I will say that letter should be equal to A. Okay. And in this second query, I will double click. I will add new columns. I will drag this column to filter. And I will say that this filter should be equal to letter B. Okay. I will go back. And then if I run this query here, I will only get rows with an A. So we have A rows. And if I run this query here, then I will get a query with only B rows. And this is how we can recycle our query. So we don't have always to create a new query. We can reuse existing query. We can just add some filter, or we can choose some part of columns. We don't have to choose all of the columns, and so we can easily get new queries. Next, we will talk a little bit more about joins. So I will add this join icon here, and I will create a join between left query and right query. The final query will be renamed as join, and inside of it, I will double click here. I will enter all of these 4 columns. I will then go back to queries, and I will double click on this join icon. Here I will click on new link to create a join between letter left and letter right columns. And also notice that cardinality starts with 1. So we have 1 here and 1 here. It doesn't matter if we choose 1 to 1 or 1 to n. That doesn't matter. What is important is that these 2 options start with 1. That means that we will create an inner join. I will click on OK. So what is an inner join? I will jump here to this Excel file, to this sheet inner join. We are making a join between this table here and this table here. And only matched rows are these 2 rows and these 2 rows. But the final result will have 4 rows. That is because this first row will match with both of these 2 rows. So this first row here will be repeated twice because it will be matched with 2 rows from this right table. It is the same for this row here. B4 will be repeated twice because this row is combined with these 2 rows. So we have each row from this table combined with each row from this other table. So 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Let us now go back to Cognos. I will now run this join query, and we will see our result with 4 rows. I will go back. I will then double click on this join operator. Now I will change this cardinality to something that starts with 0. 0 means that it is possible that when we join these 2 queries, that on the left side we will have some empty rows. On the left side, that means that we are creating a right outer join. I will click on OK. I will go here to Excel file. Here we have right outer join. So again, we will get an inner join, just like previously. So everything is the same, but this time we will get all of the rows that do exist in this right table and not in this left table. So we will have those 2 rows here, and they will be paired with nulls. So that is because we have that 0. That 0 means that it is allowed to have empty rows here on the left side. Let us now go back again to Cognos. Again, we will run this query, and we will see those empty rows on the left side. I will then go back. Again, I will double click here, and now I will change this to 0 on the right side too. So now we will have full outer join. I will click on OK. So what is full outer join? In this Excel file, we have a sheet that is called left plus right outer join. So full outer join means that we can have empty rows on the left side and empty rows on the right side. On both sides we have empty rows. So if we go back to Cognos, if I run this join query, we will see those empty rows on both sides. So here they are. They're just differently positioned. I will then go back. And there is one more thing I want to show you. I will double click here on this join icon, and here we can notice that the relation between our queries is made on equality. But we can change this, for example, to less than sign. So if I click now on OK, we have a different condition for matching our rows. I will now run this join query, and we will notice the rule how these rows are connected. For example, A is before B, B is before C, and so on. So we are always looking at the letter on the left side that is smaller, that is before this letter on the right side. B is before C, A is smaller than C, A is smaller than B, and so on. So that is how our matching rule is working now. And for making a relation between our queries, we can use any of these operators here. So they will work in that way.